Championing Africa's developmental goals, Vice President Shettima makes case at IDA 21 Summit in Nairobi, Kenya.
I can assure you, in 3 months, the entire sector will be grounded.
Minister of Power justifies first step increase in electricity tariff as National Assembly seeks to reverse decision.
African countries and beyond can come in to learn from the facilities that we have.
Interpol holds strategic 10th Africa Working Group on containing cybercrime threats on the continent. Hello and thank you for joining us on the Network News on NTA. I'm Naja Atutijani. Reading with me tonight is Michael Olale in Lagos and Musa Abubakar here in our Abuja studios with business news. This broadcast is being streamed live on our YouTube channel, and you can watch the replay later. Do also follow us across all social media platforms for more. Nigeria is set to harness the potential of its youthful population to transform into a global digital economy powerhouse, with plans to become a global hub for outsourcing talent. Vice President Kashim Shettima expressed the federal government's confidence at the meeting of African heads of state and government on the 21st replenishment of the International Development Association in Nairobi, Kenya. The Vice President informed other African leaders of the reforms implemented by the Tinubu administration to curb illicit activities and currency manipulation, which had long hindered the nation's progress. Alongside the digital transformation agenda, the Vice President said Nigeria is committed to prioritizing climate resilience and becoming an attractive destination for carbon market investments. President of Kenya, William Ruto, said the summit was urgent because it was convened at a critical juncture facing a convergence of global crises, which include escalating geopolitical tensions which challenge international unity, deepening development and debt crisis, threatening economic stability, and urgent climate emergency which demands immediate and collective action. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, says the increase in electricity tariff is the beginning of the solution to the challenges and inefficiencies in Nigeria's power sector. At an investigative hearing by the Senate Committee on Power seeking to halt electricity tariff increase, the minister asserted that the increase would reduce the burden of subsidy on the federal government for 2024 by 1 trillion naira. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
Since you raised your tariff to 225 on the basis of 1,400 per dollar, now that dollar is 1,000, we assume that it will also come down in like manner.
Does it just address the exposure of the government to the subsidy, which would have been over 3 trillion? Or does it go ahead to address the fundamental problem of the lack of solvency within the entire sector?
I'm not even talking about the poor people. I'm talking about poorest of the poor. I only hope, if you don't want to run into a large social crisis, and I hope you won't extend this magical increase.
Minister, please hear me. In your ministry today, you have a department that is called generation, transmission, distribution, none for consumer protection.
The investigative hearing featured arguments and counter-arguments on whether the more than 200% electricity tariff increase on 15% of consumers isolated on Band A should be stopped or continue, despite the much talked about consequence.
And even when we do have 20 hours of power, if we are to have 20 hours of supply, 225 naira would certainly put us out of business.
The discourse believe that the regulator, by the power vested by the Senate and the new Electricity Act, acted in prudence and in line with the Constitution.
There's no way we can act this electricity increase now to petroleum subsidy removal at the same time and expect people not to be suffocated?
Manufacturing for our own consumption, not even to talk about export, is a critical and vital part of our national development. And at the point where we are now, I don't see how most industries are going to survive.
But the Minister of Power insists that the increase in tariff is a life support to the power sector, which, if removed, could lead to an avoidable collapse.
The alternative will be worse. The alternative is do nothing to the tariff at all. And I can assure you, in 3 months, the entire sector will be grounded.
Authorities in the power sector gave assurances that the policy decision will have a positive impact by way of improved infrastructure, generation and distribution. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development says following the 60-day deadline given to illegal miners, 70 cooperative societies have been formed and will now be integrated into the formal mining industry where royalties can be paid to the federal government. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, announced this at the 2-day step-down retreat for staff of the ministry in Abuja, noting that illegal miners yet to form cooperatives will face mine marshals.
We are still employing the persuasive method because some of them are still, some will have some logistics problems of bringing their members together. And we've said that they should come to us if there's anything the ministry can do to, fast track their own process of forming these cooperatives. And they are really doing that. So it's open-ended. However, those who now refuse to toe that line of reasoning, or reason, then we have the kinetic approach, the coercive approach of security. Only last week, the mines marshal that we established, they arrested some people in Abuja here. They arrested some people in Nasarawa. So I've asked them to compile all the details so that we'll push this out to the media so that others will learn that, illegality does not pay.
Still on mining, the quest by the federal government to actualize a $1 trillion economy has been hinged on optimal performance of the mining sector and other non-oil export sectors. At an event in Abuja on sustainable development of the mining industry organized by the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, participants like the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, said a renaissance in the sector is non-negotiable. Kunle Adeyeye reports.
It is an assemblage of the cerebrals. They are gravitating towards the same destination, to reposition mining and steel development in Nigeria, ensure they henceforth contribute significantly to gross domestic products, and create a pathway to achieving the desired $1 trillion economy. From the Minister of Solid Minerals Development to other active members of the sector, achieving this isn't rocket science, but a well-coordinated approach that will allow active participation of the private sector.
By the time we are done with all of these efforts and inputs and policy initiatives that we are putting in place, trillion of naira will just be a child's play. We'll be nudging the trillions of dollars. Already, we are embarking on aggressive and proactive promotion of Nigeria's endowment to foreign investors.
We are going to specifically look for ways and means of ensuring that we account for how the $300 billion can happen. If at the end of the day it cannot happen, we will see how far we can go, and the outcome will be presented to the two ministers.
I'd like to express my profound gratitude to the visionary leadership and management of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS, for their confidence in our brand and their willingness to collaborate with us in fostering dialogue, innovation, and progress in shaping Nigeria's economic landscape.
They agree that securing the mining operating environment and local value addition to mined resources are doable if there is concurrence from the subnationals.
I think this is the right thing to go, because this 7-point agenda that you have is what is going to define the industry.
Besides the prospects highlighted, others clamored for de-risking the sector to attract more investors. Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
The present administration's drive towards attracting investment into the country is beginning to yield results as Indian investors begin to redeem their investment pledges. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, says so far $7 billion worth of investment from India has been added. This is as Nigeria meets Indian counterparts to strengthen trade ties in Abuja. Benny Adams reports.
Nigeria's exports to India have fallen by 56.22%, while imports from India also dipped by 28.83%, with trade deficit of $528.35 million in favor of India. This handshake is an expression of commitment towards diversifying the trade basket of both nations. While Nigeria looks to grow in trade volumes with solid minerals and agro-products aside crude oil, India is interested in ensuring that pharmaceutical products become more affordable for Nigerians, in addition to rail and road transportation.
We've had many countries coming wanting to invest in the free zone areas, and we have them all over the country, from Lagos to Kano, and we are calling on the Indian side to invest in that area. That is one of the many areas we are going to explore.
While conducting business and ensure that they do it in a very smooth manner.
Other frameworks to allow for ease of doing business between both countries is also being considered.
The issue of currency swap will be looked into, and the line of credit will be looked into.
Already, government says commitment made in India 7 months ago have started yielding results, with $7 billion worth of investment is already in the country. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
Meanwhile, African member countries of the International Police Organization, Interpol, are meeting in Abuja for the 10th Africa Working Group on Cybercrime to review progress and measures aimed at addressing contemporary cybercrime threats. Francis Form reports.
Cybercrime is a major problem that cuts across all continents of the world. To combat cybercrime is the objective of this gathering of heads of cybercrime units of the 54 Africa member countries.
Together as a unified force, we have a power to outmaneuver even the most sophisticated adversaries. Let us seize this opportunity to share knowledge, collaborate and strengthen our collective defences.
Please come with a model of training to leverage on these institutions. African countries and beyond can come in to learn from the facilities that we have.
Minister of Police Affairs and the Inspector General of Police, in separate messages, say the federal government of Nigeria is committed to strengthen the capacity of law enforcement agencies in the fight against cybercrimes.
Let us leverage the expertise and resources of Interpol to build a united front against cybercrime and enthrone sanity in the digital realm.
The Nigerian Police Force has recorded a significant milestone in the fight against cybercrime.
We are working together to make sure that trends, modus operandi are understood.
For us to come together to discuss, I consider it critical.
The issue of terrorist financing, money laundering, and the traces of terrorist fighters are also expected to be uncovered and solution profiled. Francis from NTA News.
Still on cooperation, that of Nigeria and the United States presents a renewed paradigm in proffering solutions to the complexity of various global issues posed by insecurity, climate change and humanitarian crisis, among others, with key players at the 6th Nigeria-US Binational Commission in Abuja, expecting an inclusive approach to addressing some of these complexities. Garba Nata'ala reports.
Aside from having such a platform of mutual interest and shared commitment between Nigeria and the United States, as well as deepening cooperation in economic and trade relations, the bilateral ties continue to serve as a viable mechanism for sustainable solutions for Nigeria in addressing complex issues in the area of security and counterterrorism, multilateral reforms, healthcare, fight against corruption, humanitarian assistance, governance, and many more. For the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it underscores the need to further strengthen the existing binational commission framework in identifying barriers for seamless joint action.
I wish to reiterate.
With the team, Partnership for Mutual Benefit and Development, they agreed both governments of Nigeria and the United States need the current partnership, which will further promote peace and economic prosperity. It is expected that participants, comprising of diplomats, experts, and top government officials, among others, will come up with modalities to mutually benefit both countries. In Abuja, Garba Muhammad Nata'ala, NTA News.
This is the network news on NTA. Stay tuned for more reports after this timeout. Thanks for staying tuned. The two chambers of the National Assembly are set to resume plenary this Tuesday, April 30th, 2024, resolving to ensure that ministries, departments and agencies of government implement the renewed hope budget, especially with regards to security and economic prosperity. The two chambers had, before embarking on the Easter and Ramadan break on March 20th, 2024, amended the 2023 budget and the supplementary budget to enable implementation of key programs, projects and policies to improve the lives of Nigerians.
The ears and the eyes of the public.
Nigerians will expect that members will center their discussion first on the issue of this tariff, of what has happened in the power sector.
We have gone to different our constituencies and seen what our people need. It's a time for us to present it to the chamber.
Meanwhile, Speaker House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas and former Speaker House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, who is now the Chief of Staff to President Tinubu, went on a tour of the House of Representatives chamber, which is being renovated alongside the Senate chamber, which is expected.
That was our day. But today, we are all living witnesses that this chamber has exceeded our expectation.
I may have set the pace. This work was done in collaboration with members of the 9th Assembly, who keyed into the vision that I had when I became Speaker. And the vision that I had at the time was that Nigeria, being the most populous, the biggest country in Black Africa, our legislature must not fall behind.
The renovation commenced in August 2022 to make them functional in line with global trends. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has challenged presidential aides to justify their appointments by explaining to the people the reason behind government decisions. This was during an engagement with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement. Salihu Gwanara reports.
It is an engagement to fast-track the task of the Ministry of Information and National Orientation with the mandate to rebuild trust between the government and the citizens. The vision of the President through the Senior Special Assistant on Community Engagement, the Minister says, is to promote transparency and feedback.
We are working towards the same purpose.
Thank you, sir.
The desire of Mr. President is that at the end of the day, Nigeria will recover lost ground, will have the prosperity that all of us so desire. That is the journey that all of us have embarked upon. That is the journey of Mr. President, and that is our journey, and this is ultimately the destination that this government will take for Nigeria.
We have to commend the effort you have been putting in place. When we went to Kano and Jigawa, a lot of people are still talking about what they've come to know about the programs of this government. So it's only right that we as community engagement come here to partner with you, to seek your support and collaboration. Community engagement, the minister assured, will be sustained across the country. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
The National Working Committee of the Governing All Progressives Congress has commended the outcome of the Ondo State Governorship Primary Election Appeal Committee for timely delivery of its assignment. This was when the chairman of the committee and former governor of Bauchi State, Muhammad Abubakar, presented a copy of the report to the committee. National Working Committee political correspondent Abubakar Akwanga reports.
The Ondo Governorship Election Appeal Committee was inaugurated on the 18th of April 2024 to entertain complaints from aspirants after the conduct of the exercise, and that assignment was successfully completed and delivered to members of the National Working Committee of the APC. National Working Committee of the APC also received members of the APC disability community, where advocacies were raised on equality, enhanced opportunities, and inclusive participation at all levels of governance. The Buhari House also played host to senior special assistants to the president on various portfolios and urged them to take cue in actualizing the renewed hope mantra of the president. The National Secretariat of APC was a beehive as hundreds of party supporters rolled out drums in solidarity of Dr. Ganduje-led National Working Committee, where loyalty and commitment were reaffirmed.
All over the country, we are receiving new entrants into our party. That has created fear in their minds. They are already eyeing 2027, but 2027, there is no vacancy.
The group urged distractors to allow the national chairman to steer the affairs of the party to stardom, as APC members will rise against any gimmick targeted at its national leadership, as it promised to keep flying the party's flag. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
MTN Nigeria is providing the needed support for young people to fulfill their potential in athletics through the discovery and nurturing of talent to become Olympic champions. It is doing this through a competition for secondary schools tagged MTN Champs. Paul Abel covered the press briefing for the grand finale of Season 2 in Calabar and completes the report.
Having traversed 7 cities with 8 events in MTN Champs Season 1 and 2, the team is now in Calabar with more than 400 schools and 8,000 participants registering in Season 2. The grand finale is expected to produce the best of the best.
We believe in Nigeria, we believe in the youth of Nigeria, we believe in our power to win collectively, and that's really it. It's really quite simple. That's what motivates us. MTN Nigeria has been established in here for more than 22 years, so we continue to demonstrate that belief by making this investment in our collective development.
It's been a 10-year mission to bring this to light in Nigeria. We're thankful that MTN saw the vision and caught this vision. And now that MTN Champs is here, we are very, very excited about how it's going to change Nigeria.
The goal is some of the children said today might not know them, but in future Olympics in the next 4-6 years, you start seeing them making waves.
The basic tutelage of what a champion needs to be, so that at the end of it, Nigeria will be better.
Giving room for all athletes to participate, the 4-age group with 300 medals up for grabs competition, stakeholders say is a welcome initiative for sports development in Nigeria.
We're giving them security, we're giving them a serene environment to make sure that this holds. And while this is being done, we encourage our own indigenous children to become part of it.
We need to do this because they say an idle mind is a devil's workshop.
On the NTA Champs, I want to assure you that as a ministry, we have mobilized all our students for this event.
The top 12 athletes at the main event coming up at the UJ Swene Stadium from 30th April to 3rd May 2024 will be taken into the Making of Champions Academy with funding, scholarship and training to continue their career as students. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
And from sports to health, Nigerians needing dialysis, especially those awaiting kidney transplant, do not need to leave the country for treatment, as the medical center has inaugurated 60 dialysis machines in Abuja to fight kidney disease and improve the health of Nigerians. Elizabeth Omorui reports on the benefits of the center in kidney disease management.
Kidneys. Nephrologists explain remove waste and extra water from the blood and help keep chemicals balanced in the body. When the kidneys are damaged, waste products and fluid can build up to cause swelling in ankles, nausea, weakness and shortness of breath. In 2022, Itoro was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease.
So families, it's very difficult for them to even raise 30,000 naira, talk more 49,500, and you have to do it twice or sometimes 3 times a week.
Reducing the cost of treatment and management for patients with kidney diseases informed the establishment of this dialysis center. The coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, in his message to the gathering, reiterated the need for improved quality of governance in the health sector.
Cost of care for kidney disease treatment is quite high, so that also is being looked into.
Just like we've done this in a very small way, you can imagine a private enterprise being able to do this. The government will do a lot more, and they can do a lot more.
Key actors in the health sector also noted that health security must be prioritized to reduce medical tourism. They recommend strengthening of primary health care centers and regular medical checks, especially for persons suffering from diabetes, hypertension, and HIV. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Government will continue to provide an enabling environment for pupils and students and will work closely with schools for the country to be technologically driven. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, said this while welcoming and presenting awards to students who won the USA World Robotics Festival and Rwanda International First Lego League Championship. Commending the efforts of the students, the minister said the field of robotics is a highly developed platform facility which offers solutions to mankind's numerous challenges. Professor Mamman agreed that winning the competition shows the capability of not just those who won, but Nigerian youths in general who need support and the push to excel in any field they are exposed to.
Our current policy focuses on nurturing the young ones from primary school right through to be exposed to technology. We want them to be exposed to critical thinking. We want them to be exposed to collaboration and teamwork. It's one of the major activities or attribute of what you have done is teamwork.
Students of Federal Government College Ekeru came first out of 8 African countries which participated in the regional competition in Kigali, Rwanda, while Federal Girls Government College Oyo picked 26th position out of 230 participants in Texas, USA, a performance which is adjudged to be noble, coming from the first set to have represented the country. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board JAM has withheld the results of more than 64,000 candidates for further investigation in the just concluded 2024 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME. JAM Registrar Professor Ishaq Oluide announced the release of the UTME results of more than 1.8 million candidates at a press conference in Abuja. Olainka Uju reports that one CBT center was delisted for total failure.
The Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination had
More than 1.9 million candidates who registered for the examination in 774 computer-based test centers across 118 towns nationwide. Of the number, 1,904,189 candidates were present for the examination, but 2,899 candidates present were unverified, while 80,810 candidates were absent. JAMB Registrar Professor Ishaq Oloyede says the results of candidates not released are products of corruption and examination infractions.
The steps were taken to curb identity theft, ensure improved record keeping to guarantee well-organized UTME.
While analyzing the results released based on performances of candidates, Professor Oloyede says 8,401 candidates scored 300 and above. 77,070 candidates had 250 and above. 439,974 candidates scored 200 and above.
Those who scored below 50%, there are 1,402,490, representing 76% of the candidates. But as bad as this may look, it's an improvement on the last 3 years.
While commending stakeholders for the successful conduct of the exercise, the board advises candidates to check their results from 7 a.m. on Tuesday, 30th of April. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
It's time to join Michael in Lagos for more reports. Michael?
Good to see you, Najatu. The federal government will continue to implement its developmental programs and projects, taking into cognizance humanitarian and environmental well-being of the community where these projects are sited. Minister of Works David Umahi stated this on his Day 2 inspection of the commencement of Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Larry Bilei has details.
Minister of Works continues his inspection of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, monitoring the realignment of the road project befitting the vision behind the initiative. He explains some decisions made after the inspection.
We have done a lot of the alignment, not considering whether the alignment was following the gazetted, right of way. We are looking at the feelings of the people, and we're looking at economic values by making sure that as much as possible we follow the coast and also follow the right of way that are legally within the right of way of the federal government.
He appreciated the commitment of major stakeholders involved in the highway construction, with an assurance that the work will be completed within the time frame. David Umahi revealed other projects that the federal government is willing to embark on soon.
And I'm happy that Mr. President has also directed me to start the immediate design of the Sokoto-Badagry Coastal Highway. No, this one is not coastal, but it's a spur of the Coastal Highway. And that one is 1,000 kilometers. We've started the design, and I'm very sure that as soon as FEC approves it, we will be starting, at Sokoto sign, which is going to be the 0 point.
The minister says demolition and compensation will continue as the project progresses. In Lagos, Larry Bilei, NTA News.
Stakeholders of Nigeria's foremost brewing company, Nigerian Breweries PLC, have approved a capital raising of 600 billion naira by way of rights issue. This was the submission of stakeholders at the company's 78th annual general meeting in Lagos. Dana Jali completes the report.
Considering the recent marketing condition, speakers at the 78th annual general meeting of the Nigerian Breweries PLC were emphatic that the adoption of raising fresh capital will afford the company direct authorization to undertake capital restructuring.
We're in a dynamic process at the moment, as well as a rights issue to recapitalize the business. And I'm very pleased personally with the outcome of the AGM. We've just been given the full support of our shareholders that we can go ahead with the refinancing of the business.
What we have decided to do is do what we call expand beyond beer.
You know, we've always been into lager, stout, and malt. Now we are going out of it. Not leaving it, we are going beyond it and going to what? Wines and spirit.
Interim Chairman, Board of Directors shed more light on the objective of raising fresh capital to the tune of 600 billion naira to enable the company settle its outstanding forex exchange payables and local bank facilities, which would lead to the elimination of the naira devaluation risk or forex exchange losses.
Agreed on quite a lot of resolutions, which most of them are aimed at coping with the present very difficult economic situation, which of course touches all companies, including Nigerian breweries. And I'm very happy to report that shareholders were extremely helpful.
While applauding the company's management for their laudable business recovery plan, shareholders described the move as timely.
The Nigerian brewery in question have done very well, even though we posted a loss. But a company that our turnover was 599.something billion would have paid a good dividend as they did last year. And shareholders have been able to understand with them and cooperating.
They have been a reliable company.
Report from operating activities, profits and loss for the year 2023. Attractive dividends for investors were part of the issues treated at the meeting. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
Those are the reports from Lagos. Network News will continue with Musa, who's standing by for more business news.
NTA Network News now bring you up to speed with business development. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission says oil production as at 25th of April stands at 1.532 million barrels per day. And increased efforts towards domestic oil production are being intensified to ensure the recurrent field queues being experienced become a thing of the past. The CEO Benga Komalafe also unveiled the 2024 licensing round while speaking at the maiden edition of NTA House Dialogue in Abuja.
And dedication for us in the Commission, we are pushing to ensure that the domestic refineries are provided with the needed feedstock. After all, what is a refinery? Not more than feedstock and financing. So good enough as a nation, today we have one of the biggest refineries, in the world now in Nigeria, a 650,000 barrels per day refinery that is operational. And we have equally flagged up the implementation of the domestic crude oil process. We have been able to put in place what I call the rule of engagement to govern both the producer and the refiners in a manner that parties now know their obligation.
At the capital market, equities market closed the first weekday of trade negative as investors lose 154.25 billion naira. The all-share index fell 0.28% to close at 97,879.94 basis point. A total of 277 million shares in 8,714 deals corresponding to a market value of 5.08 billion naira were traded. Data shows 5% improvement in volume, 1% improvement in turnover, and 32% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 55.4 trillion naira. The session ended with 23 gainers and 23 losers. Sterling Bank led the gainers with 9.95% share price appreciation, closing at 4 naira 20 kobo per share, followed by FBN Holdings, Honeywell, Flour Mill, and Tantalizers. Well, that's it. The news continues.
The Nigeria Football Federation has confirmed Finidi George as the new Super Eagles coach. Details on Sports Update.
The Nigeria Football Federation on Monday announced the appointment of Finidi George as the new head coach of the Super Eagles following a recommendation by its Technical and Development Committee. The former Ajax and Real Betis player, who spent 20 months as assistant to Jose Peseiro, becomes the 41st coach of the Super Eagles, with his first official challenge being the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying matches against South Africa and Benin Republic in Uyo and Abidjan. In another development, Minister of Sports Development John Eno has debunked claims by former World Boxing Federation cruiserweight champion Bash Ali in a petition and viral video that he demanded a sum of $1 million to support his bid to host his proposed record-breaking fight.
Bash Ali's desperate and unprovoked withering attack on me is an attack on decency, on honesty, and on integrity. The move to clear my name has just started, and there will be no let up until I achieve this sacred mission.
Team NNPC have successfully defended their Nigeria Oil and Gas Industry Games title after emerging the champions of the just concluded 2024 Games in Abuja. The week-long event saw 13 teams from the oil and gas industry participate in 13 sports.
They are not stopping after this tournament. They are continuing because everyone wants to be a champion.
We had expectations which we are linked